When we remember a time, we remember moments. A kaleidoscope of the sights, the sounds, the emotions that remind us of the way we were. Our world. It's about time. Here are Linda Ellerbee and Ray Gandolf.
For the next hour, think of your television set as a radio and a time machine.
Tonight, our memories are stored in an old attic in an old house with squeaky boards and scary noises.
Welcome to our world. It is autumn of 1938. Most especially welcome to a certain hour on a certain night, 48 years ago, this night, this hour. October 30th, 8 o'clock on the evening before Halloween, 1938. That's when radio came of age, and an extraordinary number of citizens of seeming good sense believed we were under attack from Mars, and it scared the daylights out of them.
We will deal at some length tonight with Orson Welles and his Halloween radio show that set this country on its ear. But to try to figure out why so many presumably sensible people believed there were Martians in their front yard, we're first going to build a context for that Martian hoax. In the fall of 1938, we were self-absorbed and naive. The world was not a global village, but it was shrinking. And we heard on the radio that a madman was terrifying Europe, and we were afraid. We were willing to fight this guy if we had to, but we sure didn't want to. Evil frightened us, but it also fascinated us, even entertained us.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
Radio gave us the shadow.
The shadow knows.
In the cottage of the seven dwarfs dwells Snow White.
Walt Disney's Snow White was one of the scariest movies ever made.
Snow White still lives, the fairest in the land. Is the heart of a pig you hold in your hand.
Jeepers creepers.
Even the most popular song had a creepy title.
Jeepers creepers. Where'd you get those eyes?
On the fun side, a Halloween beauty contest in California.
How'd they get so lit up?
Cider time in Maine.
How'd they get that size? Golly gee, when you turn those heaters on, woe is me. Got to put my cheaters on. Jeepers creepers.
Kids all over the country getting ready to go trick-or-treating, ready to put on scary masks.
Where'd you get those eyes?
In England, the masks were real and scarier. Britain was afraid. The things that threatened to go bump in the night could be bombs, not ghosts. Everybody got a gas mask. Trenches were dug in Hyde Park. Germany had annexed Austria that March. Now Adolf Hitler was looking at Czechoslovakia like a hungry dog. He wanted to oblige the German-speaking people in the western third of Czechoslovakia, the Sudetenland, many of whom wanted to be German. Should he invade, France and Britain were expected to help Czechoslovakia stop him.
We are pledged to work for peace.
In mid-September, Britain's Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain flew to Germany. After 2 meetings with Hitler, war seemed likely. Chamberlain's parliamentary secretary was Lord Alec Douglas Hume.
It was quite a dramatic affair. I mean, Chamberlain had not been in an airplane ever. I mean, people didn't fly much, so it caught people's imagination. This rather lonely, quiet, unspectacular man doing something which was spectacular. Therefore, people didn't have very much excuse for failing to face up to the seriousness of the situation.
We must keep ourselves adequately strong in national defense.
A navy second to none. Preparedness on the land.
In America, the war threat was more remote. Yet newsreels had a patriotic ring. President Franklin D. Roosevelt had asked for and gotten, with some difficulty, appropriations to beef up defense. Roosevelt talked the country through the war threat as he had through the Depression, by using the radio. And he was its master.
In troubled days, when the nerves of men and women have been strained almost to the breaking point,
he had this ringing voice. It got through to the cheapest radio in the world.
Radio listeners knew that voice, too. He played the Shadow and a dozen other roles. He later worked for Roosevelt as a campaigner and speechwriter. Orson Welles.
Roosevelt Fireside Chat was a great American institution. When he spoke on the radio, everybody in the world listened to him, and he was galvanizing.
No people in all the world can be kept eternally ignorant or eternally enslaved.
After one of his speeches, we all applauded. He sat down and had a bit of his favorite cocktail, and he said, well, you know, Orson and I are the two greatest actors in the world. He says, only Orson's job is to stir the people up, and mine is to pour oil on the troubled waters.
This tropical terror swept over outer Long Island, struck with winds almost 200 miles an hour. Tidal waves 30 to 40 feet high.
September 21st, Long Island and New England are hit by a devastating hurricane. Primitive national weather reporting is unable to give any warning. Close to 700 lives are lost and an estimated $400 million worth of property destroyed. 95% of it is uninsured.
Men risked almost certain death trying to swim to their isolated homes, and the Coast Guard restrained them when it could.
Charles Whipple, a reporter for the Boston Globe, is assigned to the surprise storm.
Like nothing that I'd ever seen before. The wind was so strong, it made my little car sway as it went along like a sailboat at sea. Great damage, both to homes and boats. One thing the hurricane did do was give people a scare.
It was a sensational story, and a lot of people wanted to hear about the hurricane, but a lot more people wanted to hear about Europe, even though the hurricane was going on at the same time.
That voice delivered much of the news on radio, Robert Trout. It was a hectic season.
This is Bob Trout bringing you the news of Europe.
It got to the point where we were on the air almost all the time, and there was very little else on the air except us.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
News may have dominated in the fall of 1938, but radio was still primarily an entertainment medium, and the nation's primary entertainment.
Ring up the boys, man. Tell them to meet me at Pine Creek Forks.
There were westerns and soap operas and adventures of all sorts.
Tell the boys to ride.
See you later, Ma.
Everything from the Lone Ranger to Jack Armstrong. But most of all, there was music. It was the era of the big bands, Benny Goodman, the Dorseys, Bunny Berrigan, Count Basie, Duke Ellington. And if you couldn't get to Broadway to see them, you could hear them on the radio. It was also a time when comedy was king. Jack Benny, George Burns, Gracie Allen. The most listened to show on radio was with Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy. McCarthy was the wooden doll.
A haunting we will go.
Hey, Charlie, the word is hunting.
Well, not on Halloween, it ain't.
It's tough being up against the highest-rated show. That fall, the task fell to the Mercury Theater on the Air, produced by Orson Welles and John Houseman.
We were the competitors to Charlie McCarthy and the Chase and Sanborn show, so that our rating was about 3.2 and their rating was about 38.9. Nevertheless, we panicked the nation, they didn't.
The nation was ready for that fictional panic because the headlines were full of real crisis. Chamberlain's attempts notwithstanding, as September drew to a close, Hitler was unappeased.
Well, there we were, afraid of a war that we expected was going to happen and didn't want to get involved in. Nature had reminded us that a lifetime of loving and saving and building can go just like that in an hour. Small wonder, maybe, that so many of us panicked when Orson Welles told us on Halloween Eve that Martians were in New Jersey. Come back to the fall of 1938, to the texture of that time, and some of the heroes of that season.
Our World, brought to you by new Metaprin. When your body's aching, when your body's hurting, when your body hasn't got time for the pain, Metaprin.
Introducing Metaprin, when your body hasn't got time for the pain.
I haven't got time for the pain. I haven't got room for the pain. No, I haven't got time for the pain anymore.
Metaprin has ibuprofen, once only in prescription strength. It relieves body pain, even minor arthritis pain fast, and it's safer to your stomach than aspirin.
I haven't got time for the pain.
When your body hasn't got time for the pain, new Metaprin from the makers of Tylenol products.
Chances are that everyone in the average family has problems finding the twist ties. So why bother? Glad handle tie bags have built-in stress flex handles that are easy to tie, handles that are easy to lift, handles that are easy to carry to the curb with no twist ties. Glad handle tie bags. Why take chances? Get Glad.
Stop squirming. This'll take care of your sore throat. Trust me.
Tastes great. Sucrete spray? But sprays don't last long enough.
Maximum strength Sucrete spray does.
Compare Sucretes to the other leading brand. Only Sucretes has diclonine for longer-lasting temporary relief of minor sore throat pain. Sucrete spray lasts twice as long.
Trust me?
I still feel great. Maximum strength Sucrete spray lasts twice as long.
Look at this. You can walk around here. I was in one airport, nothing but crowds. Well, I had my suit pressed by 500 people. I told the guy, I'm looking for gate 46. He gave me a compass. By the time I got there, I missed the plane. But I got lucky, though. My luggage made it. Now I fly Western. They get me home on time so I can be with my wife. Are you sure the plane isn't late?
Western Airlines connects you fast through Salt Lake. It's the only way to fly.
Greta Weitz, 7-time winner, goes for an unprecedented 5th victory in a row. Orlando Pizzolato, he's won the last 2 years, is a 3rd attainable. The race in a class by itself, the New York City Marathon, live Sunday morning on ABC Sports.